Hello. In the previous lesson we built a map of the AI project ecosystem, identifying all key participants both inside our organization and outside it. We answered the question, who? Today we move to a different question, how do we interact with all these participants? Our task is not merely to list stakeholders, but to build a transparent, effective system of governance and control. We must create a structure that ensures every participant in the ecosystem acts within their remit. This lesson is a direct action guide. We will divide it into two major parts: governance of the internal ecosystem, how to distribute roles and responsibilities within the teams that develop, operate, and manage the AI project. And governance of the external ecosystem, how to organize our work with customers, regulators, suppliers, and society at large. The practical outcome of our work will be an understanding of how to complete the key sections of the AI System Passport, the principal document at this stage. As usual, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if this topic interests you and you find our lessons useful. And let's get started. Before we get to work on managing the internal and external ecosystem, let's clarify what responsibility means in AI systems. Responsibility in the context of AI is not about finding the guilty after problems arise. It is a proactive system for clear allocation of powers, duties, and competence boundaries across all stages of the AI system lifecycle. It is a framework that defines who makes decisions and within what limits. What lies within each participant's zone of responsibility. How coordination occurs across levels. When and how responsibility is handed off between project phases. Let's look at the main responsibility levels typical for most AI projects. Operational responsibility. This is the level of project management, task allocation, and resource distribution. It answers, who does what? Technical responsibility. This level focuses on technical choices that determine the AI system's quality, reliability, and safety. Key question: how should the system work? Organizational accountability. This is the level of product and risk management. Who is answerable for success or failure? Legal and social responsibility. This is the level of legal regulation. Who bears liability to society, third parties, and the law for harm caused? And finally, the cross-cutting level, ethical responsibility. This level permeates all the others and concerns moral obligations toward society, the user, and stakeholders. Key question: is what we are doing right? A comprehensive approach to responsibility in AI projects requires understanding the interconnection among these levels. Only with clear responsibility allocation and established procedures for interaction across levels can we ensure ethical, safe, and effective AI development. And for this, it is critical to set up governance and control processes correctly both within the company and with external parties. Before building relationships with the outside world, we must put our own house in order. Failures in internal organization cause reputational and financial losses externally. For effective governance, it is important to distinguish two concepts. Responsibility, the obligation to execute a specific task. Multiple people can be responsible. This answers, who is doing this? And accountability, the obligation to report on the end result and bear final answerability for it. There must always be a single accountable person or role. This answers, who owns the outcome? Those responsible might be a data scientist, built the model, HR, provided data, DevOps, deployed the system. The accountable party should be a single person or role, for example the product owner, who can explain decisions and take corrective action. The tools we'll consider help bring clarity, structure accountability, and solve this problem. But it is important to understand, no tool can replace a culture of responsibility and the readiness to make hard decisions. Now let's look at a concrete practical tool that helps structure responsibility areas and make clear who does what in the company. The RACI Matrix is a tool that defines stakeholder roles and responsibilities for each task. Its name comes from 4 English words denoting participant roles in a specific process. Responsible, the person executing the task. Accountable, the one ultimately answerable for the result. Consulted, the expert whose input is sought. Informed, the party that must be kept apprised of results. Adapting RACI for AI projects requires accounting for unique tasks such as training data selection or model ethics validation, and involving corresponding roles, legal and ethics specialists, as consulted. Here is an example of a compact RACI matrix for an AI project. Rows are key lifecycle activities from problem definition to monitoring. Columns are internal roles. Cells specify tasks and responsibilities. R executes the work. A is solely accountable and makes the decision. C is consulted in advance. I is informed after the fact. Here's how to read the table. Choose an activity row and find the single A. Final accountability is concentrated there. Look at R. Those roles do the work and report to A. C, who must be involved before execution. I, who we keep in the loop after results. Note the AI governance checkpoints embedded in this matrix, the stakeholder map. Data protection impact assessment, legal basis for data use, quality and fairness tests. And the go-live decision. Accountability is distributed to prevent legal and ethical risks before release. Key rules, exactly 1A per row. This is the golden rule of RACI. It eliminates diluted accountability and ensures each decision has a single owner. There may be multiple R. Sometimes you'll see A and R in one cell, meaning the same role not only executes the work but is fully accountable for it. This is common for small, specialized tasks. This matrix is a living document updated across project phases. We then carry it over into the AI system passport. Don't worry if some details in this example RACI matrix aren't yet clear. In our practical lesson, we'll build such a responsibility matrix end-to-end for a real case, and you'll see how powerful and useful, indeed indispensable, it is in our practice. So, we've examined the RACI matrix in detail and seen how it's adapted to AI project specifics. RACI truly is a foundational tool for AI governance, a universal language for describing responsibility in any organization and for any AI system. However, it's important to understand RACI isn't the only approach. Alternatives exist, each addressing certain limitations of basic RACI. Let's review 3 of the most significant. First, DACI. The key difference is that instead of multiple responsible parties there is a single driver, the person who not only executes tasks, but actively propels the entire process forward. This is especially valuable in innovative AI projects with high uncertainty where someone must take initiative in decision-making. Second, RASCI, which extends the base model by adding a support role. This role is critical in resource-intensive AI projects where someone must provide compute, data access, or legal support without participating in technical decisions. The third approach differs fundamentally. It's the 3 lines of defense model, an assurance architecture where responsibility is distributed by levels of independence rather than by tasks. The first line is operational teams that directly manage AI systems. The second line is independent risk management and compliance functions overseeing the first line. The third line is internal audit, which evaluates the effectiveness of the first 2. This model is often used in high-risk sectors, finance, healthcare, critical infrastructure, where regulators require multi-layered control. Which approach should you choose? It depends on context, system complexity, regulatory requirements, culture, and internal practices. But here's what matters, all these approaches rest on the same fundamental principles we learned through RACI, differentiating responsibility and accountability, clearly defining consultant and informed roles, and documenting all interactions. These principles remain constant. RACI is your foundation. Master it in the AI governance context, and you'll be able to adapt to any other approach your organizational environment may require. However, knowing stages, roles, and responsibility areas may still be insufficient to build a high-quality responsibility matrix if we haven't examined risk zones thoroughly. Classic risk zones are the so-called gray areas and conflicts of interest. Gray areas include responsibility handoffs where ownership of the product passes from one team to another and each team believes either its work is done or its responsibility hasn't yet begun, for example, handing over an AI system from development to operations. We need clear criteria for when a given stage is complete and what its deliverable is, and we should set intermediate responsibility transfer zones where both teams work on a safe handover of authority. Conflicts of interest are zones where teams' objectives often clash and each considers its own priorities superior, for example business objectives versus ethics and compliance. Business may push for deeper personalization while compliance specialists push to limit personal data use. Here, pre-agreed red lines that business cannot cross are crucial, or the accuracy versus explainability priority conflict, where pre-agreed explainability metrics are essential. We must pay particular attention to processes in such risk zones when building responsibility matrices. Now let's talk about a specific characteristic of AI systems, their autonomy, the ability to make decisions and take actions on their own that may carry material and legal consequences. For safe system operation, we need to define our level of oversight of the system's decisions and actions. Choosing the right level of control and human-AI interaction is one of the fundamental governance decisions. There are three main models. Human in the loop. In this model, a human actively participates in every decision. The AI system generates a recommendation, the human operator makes the final decision. Examples include medical diagnosis or approval of large loans. The main advantages here are a high level of control and the ability to consider context. However, on the downside, we're looking at reduced speed, higher costs, and the risk of automation bias, where people begin to agree with the machine by default. A 2019 study showed radiologists agreed with AI diagnoses in more than 90% of cases even when the system deliberately gave incorrect recommendations as part of the experiment. This means merely having a human in the loop does not guarantee real human control. Special measures are needed, periodic vigilance tests with deliberately incorrect AI recommendations, requiring mandatory justification when agreeing with the AI, operator rotation to prevent oversight fatigue, and disagreement metrics, tracking how often humans dissent from the AI. Human on the loop. In this model, a human acts as a supervisor. The AI system operates autonomously, but a human can intervene at any time upon detecting anomalies or at the system's request. Examples include autopilot management or cybersecurity monitoring. The key benefit of this model is the balance it strikes between the speed of automation and the possibility of human control. However, the trade-offs are that it requires constant vigilance from the operator and can make a rapid handoff of control difficult in emergencies. And remember the automation paradox: the more reliable the automated system, the worse humans handle emergencies. Pilots of modern aircraft fly manually only a few minutes per flight. When the autopilot fails, they may not react correctly in time. The same happens with AI systems. Mitigations include regular failure simulations, mandatory manual control periods, and gradual, rather than instantaneous, transfer of control. Human out of the loop. This model is full autonomy, decisions are made without human intervention. Examples include high-frequency trading or automatic ad bid optimization. The main advantages of full autonomy are maximum speed and scalability. However, the risk is extremely high, as errors can lead to catastrophic consequences with no possibility for prompt human intervention. In 2010, high-frequency trading algorithms crashed U.S. equity markets by $1 trillion in 36 minutes. Systems operated in human out-of-the-loop mode, cascading on one another's sales. It took people 5 minutes to understand what was happening and another 15 to stop the algorithms. This incident led to new rules: automatic trading halts at sharp market moves. Choosing among these models is not a technical choice but a strategic, managerial one. It must be based on risk assessment, regulatory requirements. For example, under GDPR there is a right to human intervention, and the criticality of error consequences. Once the internal structure is organized, our next task is to build transparent and governable connections with external partners. The goal is to shift from reactive to proactive engagement. Engagement with contractors and suppliers. Modern AI systems depend on external services, cloud providers, data suppliers, and interface providers. Here it is important to understand the shared responsibility model. Risks and duties are distributed between the company and its vendors. Governance tools include contracts and service level agreements, SLAs. Specify not only availability, but also data quality, security, and notification procedures. Vendor assessments, evaluations against security, ethics, and legal requirements. A dependency map, an internal document listing key suppliers, the criticality of their services, and contingency plans. Engagement with customers and users. Key governance levels here are transparency and granting control. Interaction tools include terms of use and a privacy policy. They must be written in clear language and explain how AI is used, what data are collected, and what decisions are made. Consent management interfaces. Users should be able to easily grant and withdraw consent to personal data use. Explainability mechanisms. Where possible, provide users an explanation of why the AI made a given decision. Feedback and appeal channels. There must be a clear, accessible process for contesting AI decisions that affect user rights. These mechanisms primarily concern individual consumers. For enterprise customers, other tools apply: contracts, audits, integration policies. Engagement with regulators and supervisory authorities. Our goal here is to demonstrate due diligence and compliance. Core AI governance tasks are meeting regulatory requirements and demonstrable accountability. Execution tools include the AI System Passport, containing everything from the stakeholder map and RACI to bias testing results and model choice justification. The Data Protection Impact Assessment, mandatory in many jurisdictions for analyzing personal data risks. AI System and Risk Registers, internal documents cataloging all AI models used by the company and their risks. And a Designated Contact Person, a formal role responsible for communication with the regulator. Engagement with society and the media. The main tasks here are reputation and public trust, which in responsible AI governance must be ensured through public accountability. This can include Public Responsible AI Principles, a document on the company website outlining approaches to AI ethics and safety. Transparency reports, periodic reports on how the company uses AI, what problems it has faced, and how it addresses them. A responsible disclosure policy, a procedure for external researchers to report vulnerabilities or ethical issues in your AI systems. Public incident postmortems. In the event of a public incident, it is important not merely to apologize but to publish analysis of causes and measures to prevent recurrence. Governance of responsibility in AI systems is not just formal role allocation. It is about building a culture of deliberate responsibility, where each participant understands the boundaries of their authority and is ready to make difficult decisions. Remember, no RACI matrix can replace common sense and the ethical maturity of the team. AI governance tools work only when they are backed by people prepared to take real responsibility for the consequences of AI systems operation. Your task as an AI governance specialist is not only to complete the documents correctly, but to ensure the governance system actually works, prevents risks, resolves conflicts, and ensures ethical AI development. In the next practical session, we will apply what we've learned. Using our course case studies, we will build a complete RACI matrix for them, define the human involvement model, and fill out the key sections of the AI System Passport. And finally, 6 short questions on today's topic to check your knowledge. If you have questions or comments on the lesson materials, leave them below and we'll do our best to respond. That's all for now. See you in the next lesson.